Okay. We'll call the Agricultural Advisory Board this May 9th at 6 p.m. to order. If we could have a moment of silence, just to reflect on everything that's taking place in our country today and around the world. At this time, if I could ask Greg Splanton to do our invocation and pledge, please, before we start.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to come together and serve our citizens. Help us to be productive. Help us to just help our citizens and represent them well. Help us to help agriculture in general, and just help our country to become strong and remain independent and free, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
We could all stand for the pledge.
Let's teach us to salute the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I believe everyone had the minutes for the April 11th meeting prior to tonight's meeting. Did everyone get a chance to read over them? And were there any changes or corrections, I should say?
No.
I didn't see
a
any
motion
either.
to
If,
approve.
I was gonna say, if we don't have any, then can I have a motion to approve? Ashley made a motion to approve, second by Charlie. All in favor, by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay. Public comment section, we don't have anyone in our audience. So we'll move on to discussions, and we'll go through our committee or assignments and updates. If it's okay, I'll start with you, Rex, just because you were not able to be with us at the last meeting, and so we tabled your update on the family farm. So
Do we need a motion to bring it back off the
I
table?
think are we good to bring it back off the table, because we did table that committee? Okay. Can I have a motion to bring back to the floor the family farm?
A motion to bring back to the floor the family farm.
Second.
Ashley, second by Rex. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Rex, you have the floor.
I spoke with Mr. Philip Brooks of Fresh Produce, freshpotential.com. If y'all can look that up, freshpotential.com. And he is a food systems type person. We spoke a good long time. He asked about the board and what we're comprised of and what our mission is. And so I explained to him a little about us. He told me about his company. He's had a fresh produce business in the past for several years and was involved in food processing. What he does is look at the wants and needs of the older farmers and the wants and the needs of the younger people, and he tries to see what they can do to make people preserve the farm or keep the farm in the family. So he spoke with the Minnesota, he's in Minnesota, he spoke with the Minnesota Fruit and Vegetable Association, gave them about a 30-minute talk, and was to send me some notes he had, and the PowerPoint possibly from that, and he can send us the outline. But the bottom line is he will do a Zoom meeting for us if we want that. He can do it the next meeting or the following meeting. He said he'd like for me to be present, and I know I'm going to be absent on the 13th of June, so, but y'all can go ahead and do it without me. He'll Zoom in and talk with us and give us an overview. He's also, like I mentioned, he's a food systems person, so he'd be really good on that venue too. He's got a lot of knowledge and experience on the food systems.
What was his name again?
His name's Philip Brooks, and the website is freshpotential.com. So, in listening and sharing with him, we may pick up some food policy or food agenda things, some things that they're doing. So,
Well, I definitely think it needs some more research. I'm sorry.
Did you get a chance, I know Adam Kantrovich, did you get a chance to reach out to anybody with the Extension agribusiness team at all?
back before the food policy summit, I spoke with Dr. Laramie
Yeah.
at the summit meeting, but no, I didn't talk to the one you're mentioning.
Okay, they do, Clemson Extension has an agribusiness team, and Adam Kantrovich does farm planning and estate planning. He does like a mini workshop, and then he does like a 2-day intensive, like you bring all your paperwork and you dive into your situation. And we've had a couple of people come by the office that have been asking about that. So Chris Talley, the livestock agent, has been talking about potentially having one of those meetings here. So it might be worth, because that's gonna be something where the cost is fairly minimal. I don't know what the cost is for this, the Fresh Potential stuff. But it might be another one to look at as far as what we're trying to provide in that way. So, because I know we've had a couple of conversations in our office about, there's a older program called Who Gets Grandma's Pie Plate that I remember from a long time ago, like when I was a kid. It was a big extension program. But this is kind of the updated version. It goes into all the taxes, all the details. So it might be worth a contact with him. Do you want his email or anything? Yeah.
Please.
It's AKANTRO. So it's akantro@clemson.edu. And then I would CC Chris Talley on it.
So how many do you think, if you don't mind?
No, go ahead.
How many farms, how many people do you think you've had interested? Like, before, when we've had the farmers invited in for the different types of sessions to see what they were interested in, is this something that could possibly be, say, an August or a September meeting, if that was the case? I'm asking if, once you research with them.
So this impacts every farmer.
Right.
I mean, every single farmer. And there's cases very close to home where somebody hasn't planned.
Right.
And then you think something is supposed to go a certain way, and dad and mom or somebody changed something, and it doesn't quite go the way that the kids thought.
I know about 3 right now that are off the rails, so we won't discuss
Yeah,
that.
and
And I think that's why.
yeah, and that's where this is geared towards, is it's trying to get that down on paper. So I know for a fact we've had at least 3 in the last month or so where the conversations come up in our office.
Right.
Which is more than it's ever come up before.
Okay.
And it's something that especially with like that 30, 40-year-old something, it's becoming an issue because we have a lot of farmers who are aging out and a lot of kids who are coming up and either inheriting or coming into farming. And there's a big gap. There's that unknown. So I think there's quite a few. I would say it's definitely worthwhile. And there hasn't been any kind of programming that I'm aware of in a long time.
I think both are well worth looking into, because even if we do Clemson Extension, because it's here and that's kind of a program already going, I think this guy could possibly be the nugget that we're looking for on the fresh potential, the food policy side.
Yeah, I'll be looking into that for sure.
So that may actually, it may be a combination of both, I guess is what I'm saying. As far as June 13th, personally, Rex, I would prefer, since you are the first point of contact, for you to be there. I would agree with him. If we're going to have that conversation, I would prefer us to move it out if that's the way we're going to end up going once we get a little more information. But maybe we could at least have the other information, and I can help you with that, because I know if you're going to be out of town, we could at least look at that. Yes, Ashley?
Then June 13th, do you think Adam Kantrovich would be interested in coming and talking about the program?
I can reach out to him. He might be able to Zoom. And he's at Sandhills.
Oh, okay.
He's in Columbia?
Yes, he's
He's
at the
based out of
Sandhills Rec.
Columbia.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Or, yeah, if not that, I can look into it and
Okay.
bring information on it.
So then we'll kind of keep that one going. Did you have anything else, Rex? I don't want to cut you short.
No, that's,
You've done a lot of work, and
no,
that's
that's-
great. Thank you.
That's fine. Do we need to, how do we schedule it? Do we need a
Is there,
motion to set
is-
it or invite him or something?
can you do that? Can you find out if we do a Zoom with him?
Yeah, I'll talk to IT about it and figure out how.
How we can
Because we
do
want to
that?
get them on one of these screens, just so we have it,
Right, we
and
would,
not just
right,
here, so. I gotta
Okay.
figure that part out, but yeah, we'll get
Okay.
it worked out.
all right. So then, I guess to officially do both of these, to move forward with the family farm meeting, we need a motion to try to schedule, so we're not going back and forth, Clemson Extension, Adam Cantor for June 13th, and a motion to see if we can do Fresh Potential with Philip Brooks for July. And do we have a list served that we can get the information out as to who we will have at our meetings once we know and confirm with IT? To invite more public in is what I'm saying, not just for,
We have a media contact list.
Okay.
I send all of our agendas to you,
okay,
but, I don't know how responsive they are.
okay.
If you have your own listservs of people that might be interested, or that you serve in other ways, or see other places.
Then we can go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a long motion.
We might want to see what he has to say before we invite a lot of people in, because
Right.
it may not work, what he's doing.
What he's doing, okay.
I don't know. But I was encouraged when he was talking about, we talked a long time about food policy, and
And that may be more of the wheelhouse that we're looking for, and that would, with that said, we would need to make sure we invited, I mean, I know you're the representative, but whoever you feel, that one I'm gonna hand back to you
Sure, yeah.
to kind of oversee that.
So we're planning that for the next meeting after June?
Yeah, July.
July.
It would be July, just simply because, Rex won't be here.
Yeah.
So, I
I
don't wanna
like the idea of inviting Mr. Kantrovich the 13th of June, and Mr. Brooks the 11th of July.
And that'll be recorded, and then that way we're not losing any ground, but then that way you can kind of watch it, maybe. I know you're not gonna be here, but that way have everybody involved, if that works.
Do you know what the program was called?
I know that there's two different ones that he does. I'm looking on his page.
I would be very interested in that program as well. The July date, guys, is the 11th, if we're looking for dates. So,
I would propose inviting
okay,
Mr. Kantrovich
for the June.
June and Mr. Brooks for the July.
Okay.
I can put that in a motion if that's,
If you want to make that motion, I think that we need to make a motion before, and that's if we can work with IT to do the Zoom, because we don't want to have to. Okay. Okay. All right,
Okay.
so with that motion, Rex has made a motion, it's on the floor. I need a second to that motion.
second.
Second from Charlie, all in favor, signify by raising your hand. Aye. Okay. All right. Motion carried. So, moving on then, Ashley, and we do miss Tess tonight. She's been given the update with the Food Council, but Ashley also works with the Food Policy Council. So if you could give us an update.
Sure. So we have, and Kim, I think you got the invitation via email, but we have the second Oconee Food Sovereignty convening on June 8th. We had this event last year, and it was a huge success for educating and networking people around the formation of the Food Council. And it allowed for the people that had been involved with the food work since the first Food Summit in 2020 to actually mingle around some good food, good local food, since such a virtual startup. So June's event is going to initiate the strategic planning for the Food Council. It will establish its permanent structure and establish the network that will connect individual communities to the county-wide level organization. That's happening. We finished the community food gatherings in late April and got the information from those. We generated a lot of engagement and interest in the food sovereignty movement from those, but we weren't able to connect as well with the southern part of the county. We didn't get much traction there. It seems like we're lacking a connection to agriculture and community advocates there. So I think that's something that the Ag Board could be of help with, if we could support the Food Council with this by making connections with that area, if any of you have connections to stakeholders of agriculture and maybe like Fair Play area, that would help a lot, because that is the area of the most prime agricultural land and soil. So, and we will have a discussion on that topic at the convening in June. We have Pat Williams coming to talk, and a few other people that are focused on land itself to be speaking during the lunch portion of the convening. Everyone of the Ag Board is invited and encouraged to come to the convening.
And with that, can you advertise that? Because if we all go, we would be more than a quorum. Can you see that, James? I guess I need to put that on the floor for a motion as well. Do members of the Agricultural Advisory Board want to attend the Food Policy Council to be held at the Tomasi DAR? I'm doing this from memory.
Yeah.
Tomasi DAR, June the 8th, from 8 to 5, is that correct? And if so, can we advertise that as a meeting? Just because I don't want to break any rules. Okay. The Food Policy Council, you're familiar with that grant, aren't you, James?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. So the county council set that forth, so we are to support it. So as many of us that can go, I think we need to try to go. Ashley, I don't know if you're aware, but Charlie pretty much is very active in the Fair Play community and in that area, and would know who to be, would be a good person to go to. I think a lot of times is, they're farming and they're doing the day-to-day and they're commercial farming. So a lot of times it's hard to do meetings and different things. So, and so that's, could be some of it. It's not that they don't necessarily have the advocate. It's just, it's
24/7.
24/7, yes. And like I know a couple of my friends that are down there, if they're not farming, they're taking their kids, like I've been doing for the last 12 years, to whatever, horse show, cattle. Some of them had some rodeos this weekend in Iowa, so they're busy. And so,
Yeah,
and that's life with family. But they are great farmers and they do a lot in that area. But I'm sure we could get the word out somehow.
yeah.
So.
These other communities just had people that got together and was able to plan
Right.
these gatherings, whereas,
And even if it's cattle or whatever, we're not on quite as large scale as they are in the southern end, so. But, with that being a motion, if someone would make that motion so that James can advertise that as a meeting for the Ag Advisory Board, June the 8th, we would need a motion and a second, and then he can do that, and that way everyone can attend without there being an issue.
I move that the Ag Advisory Board be invited to the food policy meeting on the 8th of June, and that Mr. James could arrange it so that it is a meeting, and if we have a quorum, we will be
In order.
legit.
Do I have a second on the
second,
Okay, all in favor? Thank you, James. I think we've already been invited, we just need to, in order to accept it, we need him to advertise it.
Do you have a flyer or an agenda or an advertisement?
I can send you the
And I'll just
invite.
Use that.
Yeah.
If we could just send him the email,
Yeah.
and then that will take care of that. Other than, that's great that so they're moving along then with their grant and everything and
Yeah.
getting things accomplished. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations, they've
Yeah.
done a lot of work. Congratulations to you too,
Thank you.
because it's a team effort.
Yeah.
Anything else that we need to follow up? Is there anything that we need to do other than to help them get the word out and that type of thing?
It's an invite only,
Okay.
so it's not necessarily spreading the word, but just making those connections with the people that aren't maybe as familiar with the movement
Okay.
itself right now.
All right, that'll be fine then. Sorry if I overspoke, I misunderstood.
No, you're fine.
But we do have to advertise that we would be there for it to be.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Okay, all right.
May I bring back up something Mr. Brooks
Yes,
sent me?
yes.
He sent me the notes from that Minnesota Fruit and Vegetable Association meeting he spoke with, and I can forward those if Mr. James is cool with that. We can share that with the board. But he says his three main talking topics are succession in family-owned businesses, farms, and preservation of family farms in Oconee. Succession in family business takes the balancing of the ownership, family, and business dynamics. There are few families that can navigate this on their own. And then number two is supply chain adaptation, plan to grow connections through collaboration so that farmers can access the food systems and earn an adequate return, and consumers find healthy food access easier and more affordable. And number three, South Carolina and regional food policy development to support a thriving food system. And then I'll forward you his notes from that other meeting. He did say it would make a lot stronger effort if we were to, the Food Policy Council were to partner with our neighbors in North Carolina and Georgia. Makes sense, it's right, we're neighbors, so. Anyway, I can share with you what Mr. Brooks just sent me.
Okay, that would be great.
He said he'd be happy to talk in June or July, so I'll tell him he's invited for July. I thought we would have a personal representative here. He has a contact in Highlands, but he told me that the gentleman's not really a business partner. They work together from time to time, but I was hoping the Highlands gentleman could come talk to us, but we'll have to settle for Zoom, I guess.
Okay.
Unless we want to bring him down here. He said he'd come talk in person if we'd fly him down here, but
Our budget is zero,
I told him we didn't
so
use the budget.
we are advisory only.
Is Fresh Potential a business or is, okay,
It's kind of an advisory
okay.
business.
Is that all that you have with the food policy? Okay, and that. Charlie, your, roads letter went to the administrator, and I think they're working on it, is my understanding.
It went to SCDOT.
And it went to SCDOT. Okay, so hopefully we will see some good come out of that. I think they understand height, especially with combines and different farm equipment, that potential. So hopefully we've got one thing off of our list, I don't want to say bucket list, one thing off of our list that we've accomplished. That took a while, but I'm glad that it's on its way, and hopefully with all the trimmers, they will cut it the way that we requested, the way the farmers need it to be, to not damage farm equipment. Last month, I was asked to find out about DHEC, and so the best that we can figure, or from what we've seen with the state legislature, is it passed in the Senate, it's sitting in committee in the House, it's kind of gotten stalled. So if that's something that y'all are really wanting them to try to get out of committee and get passed, I know they're in committee, they're in session this week, and it still could come up, need to call our legislatures, which are Whitmire and Sandifer. It's one of those things to where hopefully it won't die this session in committee. Hopefully it will, that they can do something. When I looked at it, it said the way the law was written, or the bill was written, it said abolish DHEC. I don't necessarily think any of us really want them to, I mean, some people may want them to abolish DHEC, but just reorganize it to where it's more user-friendly, I guess, where it's, where the agriculture side is dealing with agriculture, because like we deal with them in healthcare too. That's a whole nother ball game and another ball of wax. So just if they would divide it to where the areas of, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing, smaller, and it would make things flow a lot easier for everybody. But that is where that bill is as we speak. I found it interested in trying to keep up with all of the legislation that's down there. And if you go under agriculture and just type in agriculture and such, the subject, like in the House, I found it funny. I told Charlie earlier, this is the 124th session of our legislative branch. And there was 124 bills up before them for ag. And they managed to pass 6. And, that's just kind of where we are. I really wish that they would, one of them was, and I give him credit, he sponsored it, was Davey Hyatt, Pickens County's representative, and it was for agricultural production. It did pass, but it was basically to address the rising cost of production for the farms and what's happening in South Carolina and the rural economy. One that I really wanted to pass, but it was stalled in committee, and I looked at, is probably one Clemson's worked some on, is with the SC agribusiness and the rural opportunity investment zones. And I think that is something probably that could help Oconee County. It's stalled in committee, it's probably not coming out. But if that bill comes back next year, it may be something that we want to try to look into.
There's another one about cottage food laws. Do you have the update on that? I'm trying to pull it up and my internet is not.
Cottage food laws.
It said it was sent back.
Do you know which one?
506.
506. House 506 or Senate?
506.
506, home-based food products. Yeah, it's sitting in committee as well.
And that's a big one for a lot of our local farmers markets. Those cottage food laws really put restrictions on small producers and value-added type things that they
Right.
can do in their home. And so this loosens those restrictions a little bit to allow for more people to have access to be able to sell those products. And it's been in the works for like 2 years. There's actually
There's a Senate version as well.
yes.
And it's stuck in committee as well. It's called Home-Based Food Production Operation, Senate 308. But I noticed that both of those were in committee still. Charlie, we may want to look at agricultural processor exemption, which is Senate 726. That one might be one that gets you out of that other that we were looking at. But those are the, that's the legislative update. Actually, the other bill that you asked about, that it was voted down being not constitutional, according to our state's constitution, the other week. I did hear it may come back. I don't know. But it got sent back to committee as well. So, if when you think about it, there are quite a few bills before our legislature that affect farmers. And we just, sometimes we don't think about all of them, but.
Are there any bills coming forth for fuel to help with the farmers? Any tax relief on fuel or anything coming forward that y'all heard of? I've been trying to check. I did a little research and we have 3 years supply of soy diesel in storage.
Okay.
3 years supply. And it would run roughly $1.20 to $1.50 cheaper
Than what we're
than what we're paying at the pump. I know, myself being on the soybean board, that's what we make soy diesel from is soybeans. I think in this day and time, it would actually help farmers
to do that.
because it costs us a lot to fill a tractor up these days.
Yeah, when it went over 539, I was filling up. I thought, I'm not going to tell you what I was thinking, but I was thinking, I'm glad my kids are not showing right this
If
minute.
y'all think it would be worth a shot to ask, call you representatives, we can call as a board and say, hey, well, do we have any,
I do have one thing I heard. It may not be popular in a lot of places, but I think we've got to support our local farmers. I heard that we have a surplus in our state, and they're trying to decide how to disperse of it. So I think individually, if anybody wants to call and give that opinion, wouldn't be a bad one. I mean,
it's a surplus on state money?
our budget.
Plenty of
So-
roads need to be fixed.
Well, that's always going to be one. But when it comes to ag, that they did relax some things with some of the, I think the Food Council was part of that, was pushing for some of that with the producer, the processing plants. So, maybe some of those things can be that. But if that's the legislative update, so, I don't think we had anything else on our agenda. We've all got our assignments for next time. And our next meeting will be June the 13th. If you're going to the Food Summit, that is June the 8th. And that will,
I said convening.
convening, sorry, not summit, sorry.
The summits will be in December, actually.
December, okay. If you're going to the Food Council convening, it is June the 8th. I will stand corrected.
One more thing I can mention, if anytime y'all have a meeting, you wanna meet with farmers in the lower part, we could probably do a satellite meeting, 2 or 3 places that we met before. Chris has come up and, did some row crop meetings and that in the lower part of the county, and he do it at Walhalla also, but it's hard to get, maybe chickens, to
Yeah.
go up there, they don't want you to go that far, and it's easier to meet where everything's going on, so.
And if we had to just visit individually and give some information, I think that can be doable too, if you had like a,
We've met at the Farm Cafe before,
okay,
and did a meal and a meeting also.
okay. Could I contact you then, if there's something specific for that area?
Be fine.
Okay.
If there is nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
We're done. Is that good, Mr. James?
Great.
Y'all, don't go by this.